and get in shelter immediately. So the possible tornado is north of Bruton, south of Appleton, east of Wallace, and it's east of Huxford, east of the Porch Creek Indian Reservation. And you can see Jennifer backing up and running forward on the clock, the timestamps of where the velocity starts to tighten up. What you look for is red and green connected and bright. Red are winds blowing away from the radar, green is blowing to the radar, and when you see them interlocked, that shows you on radar where you can have possible rotation, and that's what meteorologists look for to determine where a possible tornado could be. So this is all going to be north of Bruton and working its way around Upper Kirkland Road and New Fish Pond Road over the next several minutes before it eventually leaves Escambia County and moves into Conecuh County. Now, the warning at the moment does not include Evergreen or Castleberry. And you'll also notice outside of our viewing area, places like Andalusia and Opp are also underneath tornado warnings. But for our immediate area, this is the only one we have that's currently active. So it's between Bruton and Castleberry, right along this little sliver of US 31, and it's marching its way to the east at about 40 miles per hour. And besides that, we've also got severe thunderstorm warnings that are producing not rotating winds, but straight line winds in excess of 70 miles per hour. So you can definitely tell where the line of storms is. Just follow the gold. It's kind of like you follow the yellow brick road in Wizard of Oz. You just follow the golden road, and that's where you're seeing all of these severe thunderstorm warnings. Anyone along that line of storms is getting pounded with heavy rain, lightning, gusty straight line winds, and also there is the threat of tornadoes, which we have seen, for example, right here to the north of Bruton. So the best thing you can do is stay off the roads. Also understand there's a flash flooding threat with this too, because the line is not exactly moving at the speed of light. It's moving very slowly. It's producing a lot of lightning, but it is not moving quickly. Now, Mobile and the eastern shore, things are finally getting a little bit better for you as that first line is moving through. The second line is what separates who's got the severe weather threat and who doesn't have a severe weather threat anymore. The good news is line number 2 is starting to weaken a bit. That's excellent news for us, but line number 1 is still wreaking havoc, but now it's wreaking havoc for more spots east of Interstate 65. Baldwin County, Florida Panhandle, Escambia County, Alabama, and Conecuh County, and it's going to continue to do so over the next several hours. Now, if you are being caught underneath one of these storms, the best thing to do is wait it out. Wait for it to move past your area, even if it makes you late for some place you've got to go later today. You do not want to be traveling unless it is an emergency through this nasty squall line as it marches its way eastward. So we have a straight line wind threat, winds of 70 miles an hour in addition to heavy rain and lightning running from Gulf Shores up to about Bruton. And then north of Bruton, there's enough rotation inside the storm that there could be a possible tornado. So you got two main threats, a big straight line wind threat and then a possible tornado threat from this storm right here that's crossing US 31 around the north end of Escambia County, Alabama. That is north of Bruton as it continues to march its way to the north and to the east. As far as whether or not we're dealing with any sort of rotation or anything like that, we'll take another look at that on the velocity display. And the couplet has now crossed over US 31. It's still bright enough to where there is a possible rotation signature. So we just got to stay with this and monitor it and remain on the air for the next several minutes until this gets ready to expire. The warning expires at, I believe, 11:15. Yeah, it does expire at 11:15. So we've got about another 30 minutes or so, a little less than that, for that warning, unless the Weather Service deems that the threat is over. But we're going to stay on the air with this for definitely until it either weakens or it is canceled or expires. But right around the community of Kirkland and just to the south and west of New Fish Pond Road is where a possible tornado is showing up. But not only do we want to stay on the air talking about that, we also want to talk about the line of storms that's producing straight line winds. Remember, even if a tornado doesn't roll through your area, if you get straight line winds that are intense enough, it can cause tons of damage, just like we've seen already this morning, because the Weather Service is reporting that these storms where you see the gold, the severe thunderstorm warning, even though those aren't rotating winds, the straight line winds are showing up in excess of 70 miles per hour. That's almost as if a Category 1 hurricane was rolling right over your individual community. And you have to take that threat seriously. And obviously it's also loud because of all the lightning that's popping from these intense storms. But west of I-65, you're starting to at least get a break in the action because you're in between the two lines. But based on what we've seen from some of the models, it looks like line number 2, which is just east of Leakesville and pushing into northwestern Mobile County, is weakening slightly. It's not weakening an overwhelming amount, but it's weakening enough. Now that means, for example, Leakesville, your severe weather threat has ended for the day. So congratulations. In our area, you are the first ones, Greene County, to see your severe weather threat end. For everyone else, it's going to be lingering a little while longer until line number 2 passes through your community. Loosedale, you'll be the next one, because once this line moves past you, your severe weather threat is done. Now, places like Chinchula, Wilmer, Saraland, you're dry right now, but you're in between the two storm lines. Line number 1 has rolled into the Florida Panhandle in Baldwin County. Line number 2 is still to the west of you across George County and Mobile County. So especially if there have been any issues with flash flooding, it's nice to be in between the two lines so the water has a chance to recede. So the storms are still popping a whole lot of lightning. They're marching their way gradually to the east. Now they're moving a little faster than they were. Look what Jennifer's doing. She's drawing a lightning tracker box, and all this lightning across the region, over 3,100 strikes of lightning. That is a significant amount. Typically, it's in the summertime that we see the most lightning, but these particular storms have been just brutal for our area, and we're going to stay with this as we continue to monitor these storms as they blow their way through. So look at Baldwin County, look at Loxley, Robertsdale, Summerdale, Foley, Bon Secour, Gulf Shores. Not only is the rain heavy and the lightning significant, but the winds are awful. We've had numerous reports from viewers messaging in that it feels like a mini hurricane is passing over their area because the winds have been in excess of 60 to 65 miles an hour, and in some cases even 70 miles per hour. So that's one reason you want to stay indoors and stay in your safe place until all of the danger is over with. And we're just going to continue to monitor this, but if you look to the west of Fairhope and over into Mobile County, things, at least for the time being, have gotten much better than they were earlier. Now, the reason why we're on the air is because a tornado warning did go off right here for parts of Escambia County, Alabama, and Conecuh County, but it does not include the whole county. It only includes a little sliver just north of Bruton. But look at how large the severe thunderstorm warnings are. They literally do run from Evergreen all the way down to Gulf Shores because of that line of storms producing all of that lightning, all of that rain, and we're dealing with straight line winds in excess of 60 to 65 and in some cases 70 miles per hour. The yellow that surrounds that, that's a tornado watch, and that's still going to be with us until about 2 this afternoon. Some of you, it may be extended depending on how long it takes to get that second line of storms through. But what you got to know is that once that second line moves through your area, your severe weather threat will be done for the day. And that is what matters. And that second line is right there between Jackson and Loosedale. It's not moving necessarily fast, but it is at least moving out. So we'll go back to the tornado warning and see if we can spot exactly where this thing is, where the possible tornado is. That's a pretty decent signature. We're starting to get some noise in the radar imagery, and a lot of that has to do with how far we are away from the radar beam, because we have to either use the Mobile Regional Airport radar site or the Eglin Air Force Base radar site, and neither one is necessarily close to the community of Kirkland. So as the Earth curves, you end up the beam ends up hitting more activity that's aloft than necessarily on the ground. But if there is a tornado on the ground, it would be right here in this general section of Escambia County, Alabama, that has crossed US 31 and will move into this little sliver of Conecuh County. So we're just going to stay with this and monitor it over the next several minutes, but it will expire at 11:30, if not sooner. And also there are additional tornado warnings that have been going off in other parts of the viewing area. But one thing we have seen that is widespread have been these severe thunderstorm warnings from this first line. That is what rolled through Atmore earlier and parts of the Porch Creek Indian Reservation. And that's what's caused reported damage in that area. And that's what we're going to continue to also monitor throughout the course of the day. But this is the sliver of section of storm that we're watching the most. Right here east of US 31, north and east of Bruton, and south of Castleberry, because of a possible tornado that could be on the ground working its way from Escambia County, Alabama, over into Conecuh County. And other than that, we've also got a major line of storms that is producing straight line winds. And that's right here. And look at all of this lightning. It is a ton of lightning that's just slowly working its way from the west to the east. And it's still going to take several hours to get all of this activity done for the day. Jennifer's pulling up the lightning tracker just for this individual area, just for Baldwin County to Bruton, 1,900 lightning strikes. And with that much lightning, you know those storms are loud. The thunder that is producing is significant. That alone means you ought to stay indoors, because we always say in the summer, when thunder roars, get indoors, because if you can hear thunder, you're within range to get struck by lightning. And as we continue to monitor this over the next several minutes, it looks like it's just going to be one of those things that is your individual area is going to get hit hard with a straight line wind or a rotating wind, or possibly even flash flooding, depending on how long it takes for this line of storms to gradually march its way eastward. This is just something we've been monitoring all day long, and we'll just have to continue to do that. Now, if you're in Spanish Fort, things have finally gotten a little bit better. Mobile, things have gotten a little bit better as far as rain and storms, because this is a 3-hour loop. It was just coming down hard for a while, and now the core of those storms are starting to work their way more off to the east, which is really good news for that area. And you're also seeing dry conditions in Pritchard, Saraland, Satsuma, Chinchula, Wilmer, Sims, West Mobile by the regional airport. Those are all good signs. So you need that water to start to recede, and we're starting to see that in more and more spots. But this line from Evergreen down to Fort Morgan, it's just really nasty because it is loud. The thunder is booming. The lightning is ferocious. The straight line wind threat is over 65 miles per hour, which can easily knock down trees and power lines. And we've had numerous reports of straight line wind damage from a lot of these storms. Flomaton Police Department's even reporting a wind gust of over 30 miles an hour that's been reported by the Flomaton Police Department headquarters. And that has nothing to do with the tornado warning, but it's an indicator of what's happening with these straight line winds, which can be very scary. And we call this a squall line, and you never want to be driving through something like that unless it is a emergency. You want to make sure you wait until the danger is over before you get ready to travel again. It's not worth risking the loss of life. The severe thunderstorm warning, one of them has expired for Baldwin County. You can see the tornado warning box has also been fine-tuned because the possible tornado has moved out of that section of US 31. So it only includes this area right here where you see this red box flashing. It does not include Evergreen. It does not include Castleberry. It just includes this one little spot right on the Conecuh and Escambia County line where there could be a possible tornado. It does include Johnsonville. If you know anyone that's in that area, now's the time to let them know that they are in danger. They need to be in their safe place, away from doors and windows. If you know anyone along County Road 6 in the southeast end of Conecuh County, you need to tell them to get into shelter. Wynot Road, County Road 29, Nymph Road, all of these little streets and all of these little areas near Johnsonville, these are the spots that need to be in the lowest level of their home, away from doors and away from windows, because of the danger of a possible tornado that could be rolling through. And for the rest of you that are not in the tornado warning, you need to be monitoring this straight line wind threat from the other line of thunderstorms. Now, this is the velocity. This is the inbound and outbound wind. We're not seeing a good couplet, but we are seeing some significant wind in this bright shade of color located right along Wynot Road. This is northeast Escambia. This is the line that separates Conecuh County from Escambia County, Alabama. And that line is what's going to be veering its way to the north and to the east. So it would be this area right here where there would be a possible tornado on the ground. You can see Jennifer backtracking it with the radar. It would be right there. If there's one on the ground, it would be right there in that little northern pocket of Escambia County, right along Wynot Road and Old Fish Pond Road. And it's just going to keep marching its way to the north and to the east at roughly 30 miles per hour. The tornado part is fast moving. The line associated with it has not necessarily been moving that fast, which is the reason why we've also had possibilities of flash flooding across sections of the Gulf Coast. And it's something we're just going to have to stay with and monitor for the next several minutes. The warning that was to the east of our area around Covington and Crenshaw has been dropped. So that's good news, but this one is still active, and this one is still showing up south of Johnsonville. So here's Johnsonville, here's Brooklyn, and your possible tornadoes right there around Wynot Road. Kirkland, you're in the all clear from the tornado threat, but it's just going to keep veering its way to the north and to the east. Jennifer, let's go back to that high resolution radar and let's turn off the lightning data and just look at how heavy the rain is from this line. Look at this. And this is with the lightning turned off. Keep in mind, you saw how many lightning strikes are showing up in this. You got this nasty line of rain from Evergreen to Bruton, and let's keep following it down. Flomaton, Century, McDavid. Eventually, it's going to push into Molino, Gateswood, dealing with heavy rain. And as we look in parts of Baldwin County, Robertsdale, Summerdale, just torrential downpours. And this is, again, with the lightning data completely cut off. You've seen how much lightning is in these storms. And that runs all the way into Point Clear, Barnwell, Middle Bay Light, Gulf Shores, Bon Secour, and continuing off to the west. Now, the rain is a little less intense in Mobile County, but from Middle Bay Light, right in the bay, all the way up through Barnwell and Fish River and Summerdale, the rain rate has been just awful. We're very fortunate we haven't had flash flood warnings going off, but it's very possible we could. Jennifer just pulled up the estimated rainfall totals for the last 24 hours, and these are pretty significant amounts. Where you see the blues, those are rainfall totals between 1 to 3 inches. Where you see these little pockets of purple, that's rain estimated between 3 to 5 inches. That is a significant amount of rain. Thankfully, the afternoon, the evening is going to be a lot drier. The weekend going to be dry, so things will be able to settle as far as the soil moisture. But still, look at that. North of Leakesville, 3.1 inches of rain. Look at this in Atmore. That would be a 3 to 5 inch. That's estimated to be 5.25 inches of rain. That is a whole lot of rain. 2.7 inches just west of Bay Minette. 1.3 inches near Fairhope. So in addition to the wind, tornado threat, lightning threat, the rain has been significant. And it is, if you live in a low-lying area, it has probably caused significant problems. Now, these severe thunderstorm warnings that you see in gold are pretty much just going to follow and hug that main line. The Weather Service just said they're going to continue the severe thunderstorm warnings. Now, one thing they're emphasizing is the wind threat is marked as considerable. They said that the estimated wind speeds from the line of storms are at 70 miles per hour. That's almost Category 1 hurricane force. Just to illustrate my point that even though you may not be getting a rotating wind, it's a straight line wind that is significant enough to easily knock down trees and power lines. That's why we always implore you, when we have a severe weather setup like this, never to do what you can, never to be in a mobile home. You want to be in a foundation-based building, a foundation structure in this type of situation, because these type of wind speeds can just knock over those mobile homes easily. I mean, it's like a bowling ball knocking over pins. It doesn't take a lot of effort for that to happen, and that's where we have a lot of injuries and a lot of trouble. We also see trees getting knocked down onto roofs of mobile homes, and that's always a situation that's terrible. So we want to keep all of you safe and keep you weather aware. The good news is the worst is starting to pass slowly, and then we're going to start to see things getting better after lunchtime today, because the afternoon and evening is not going to be like the morning has been. The morning has been just really nasty ever since we got to about 7 a.m. 7 a.m. is when this thing started, and for the last 4 hours it's been hitting the Gulf Coast especially hard. This alone is just a 3-hour loop, and you can see how much lightning has been just roaring with these storms. But you'll also notice there are several spots that have gone dry temporarily, and that is good news to help to relieve the soil moisture. Places like Stockton, Saraland, Bay Minette, Chanchula, Wilmer, Sims. But there is this second line that right now is right around Citronelle. Now, Citronelle, you're going to be the first ones in Mobile County to see your severe weather threat end, because once this storm moves south of you, which is going to happen within the next few minutes, your severe weather threat is done. Because once you're on the back edge of these storms, things are over for you as far as dealing with a severe weather threat. And that's going to be a big sigh of relief after we started the day off in a level 3 out of 5 severe weather risk zones. We certainly do not want to deal with any of that mess in this type of situation. So the reason why we're on the air is because of a tornado warning that sparked off right here for parts of Conecuh County and Escambia County, Alabama. It does not include any of the major communities, mind you. Now, that's the good news, but the bad news is it does include part of the counties. Johnsonville is the main part, right along County Road 29, County Road 6. That is where you need to make sure you are in shelter right now and away from doors and away from windows. Now, this particular warning will expire in the next 20 minutes, if not sooner. If the system starts to weaken, we're going to see it begin to back off. The warning, which was originally issued, is scheduled to expire at 11:15. So that's in about the next 12 minutes. Again, if not sooner. If it looks like it's weakening enough, the Weather Service will drop it sooner. And based on what we're seeing on the velocity display, it looks like, Jennifer, we're starting to not really be able to see much of a signature anymore. Yeah. So that I say that, and do you have no mic? Or do you have a microphone?
I just turned it on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it almost looks like it's moving a little bit outside the box, but also that we're having a hard time because we're having to bounce through 2 different radar scans. So this one's the Eglin base. I'll go ahead and go back to Mobile. And that one's just not picking up on really most of that rotation at all, but almost looks to have been moved completely out of the box.
And I think you're right about that. And that's a good point about the 2 radar sites. We have the Eglin radar and the Mobile radar, neither of which are really close to this. And because of the curvature of the Earth, the radar beam goes in a straight line. And with the curvature of the Earth, by the time the beam reaches this area, it's looking more aloft than it is at the surface. And that's why you run into more errors the farther you are away from those radar sites. You always try to use the site that's closest to that individual location. But based on this, it doesn't look like we're seeing any tight signs of rotation. And look at that, the Weather Service just dropped it. It has been canceled. So we are going to go back to programming for now. But before we leave you, I want to remind you that even though there's no active tornado warnings, there are active severe thunderstorm warnings. And this is because of straight line winds that are pushing through at 60 to 70 miles per hour. Do not get on the road if you do not have to. Wait for those storms that are in this area to pass over you before you decide to leave the house. And remember, this afternoon, it's going to start to look a lot better for everybody, and especially by this evening. For now, meteorologist Michael White, along with meteorologist Jennifer Lambers in the Fox 10 Storm Tracker Weather Center, and we will have more updates throughout the day as needed. Stay safe.